I am really pleased that I did pick up a copy of Charles Poliquin's The Poliquin Principles uh, at a used book website for $80. Now, first I was a little bit hesitant because it seems like $80 is a lot to pay for a used book, especially a paperback. However, I had noticed that this book lists for hundreds of dollars, even though they're used, on Amazon. So at less than $100, that was actually a very good price. Now, right off the bat, I'm just so happy I did actually pick up this copy. Now, even though I've read every single Charles Poliquin article I can get my hands on, and even though I've watched every single Charles Poliquin video I can find on YouTube, I'm still really stoked that I got the book, and it's for two reasons. Firstly, I'm a visual person, so it's extremely helpful for me to be able to use the Poliquin principles as a reference manual for certain specifics. I haven't even gotten to the section on all of Charles' workouts listed, but right at the beginning, Charles has a chart that shows you if you make a max at a certain number of reps, what that corresponds to for your 1 rep max. So for example, if you can make 200 pounds for 3 reps, that your 3 rep max is 200 pounds, then he will convert that over. He's converted that over to what your 1 rep max is. And he's done that from 1 rep all the way out. Now, as if that's not enough, I mean, this is very helpful information for people who really like to track their progress. And so, in other words, from week to week, you're going to be doing different numbers of reps per sets, correct? So 1 week you might be maxing out at 3 reps, another week you might max out at 8 reps, but you want to have a common comparison point, which would be your corresponding 1 rep max. Therefore, it's helpful to have a chart like this so you can keep track of whether you're actually improving in terms of your 1 rep max. Now, all of that said, it's not enough for Charles just to list his percentages corresponding 1 rep maxes, but if you turn the page, he's also broken it down to show how this information isn't consistent across the fitness or physical education industry. He in fact lists like 12 different, strength coaches, and shows their 1 rep max corresponding to 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. rep maxes. And he shows that there's a variation in this. So he's basically pointing to the fact that there's not necessarily consistency throughout the industry. So that's the first reason I'm glad I did pick this up, is to have a physical copy of reference material that I can look at, rather than have to remember where I stored it on my hard drive or try to find it in a search again on the internet. Now, the second reason I'm really glad I picked up this book is because it is written by Charles in his own prose, and you can hear his voice through his prose. And so again, right out of the gate, Charles is not one to mince words. He's not one that strives to be overly diplomatic, and immediately he goes right after the power structure of the bodybuilding industry. Charles Poliquin basically slams Joe Weider for having basically a stranglehold on the fitness / bodybuilding industry at that time. Remember, this book was published in the 90s. And so right away Charles says, hey, Weider controls the Olympia. The Olympia was fixed at least twice, once for Arnold Schwarzenegger, once for Franco Columbu, Schwarzenegger's buddy. And then also Charles says, hey, and of course Weider controls the magazine and the information that gets put out by the magazine. And of course, Weider also had a supplement industry as well. So Charles is not hesitant to point out that there's this power structure in place that's very self-serving, and therefore is responsible for a certain amount of misinformation in terms of bodybuilding and health and fitness being put out there, because there is an agenda on the part of Joe Weider. And I think he worked with his brother, didn't he? Incidentally, I do believe they might have been both Canadian as well. Charles was Canadian, of course. Now, even though this book was written by Charles back in the 90s, I'm going to assume he probably even started writing it well ahead of that time, but that's when it was published. The information in there is, in fact, timeless. I mean, your one rep max percentages, that's not going to change over time. And because Charles is not just going after, workout of the day, exercise of the month, he's going over principles. You can apply these to, I won't say any workout, but really you could apply a principle across the board, across time. So as I make my way through this book, I'll be happy to share more with you. But if you ever do get a chance to get your hands on a copy of Charles Poliquin's The Poliquin Principles, I'd highly encourage you to do so. If you have a copy of that book already, I'd love to hear what you found most helpful in that book. If you're also someone who enjoys following Charles Poliquin, let me know what your favorite Charles Poliquin ideas are. Thank you.